first question is to ask yourself, am I high risk, low risk? And when you answer that question, you may say, well, I don't need to worry if I'm low risk, and that's the wrong conclusion to take. It means that the likelihood is less, but you still need to worry. So what do? Well, probably the most important thing is that when you get these kinds of situations arise, is you have got to have access to people who really understand how to help you. Large companies have these people on staff. Smaller, medium-sized companies, not necessarily. And you need swift access to an expert who can help you navigate this environment of, so what is this epidemiology telling me? What is this odds ratio telling me? Do I need to do something? How much trouble am I in? They've said they found listeria in my product. What does that mean? Does that mean people are going to just have a bit of bellyache, or are they going to die? They found salmonella in my product. What does that mean? So there's this process that needs to happen, and it needs to happen quickly. And there are definitely situations that I've seen where a company will look at the data and say, I'm not quite sure I buy into this. I can see that there's a potential problem here. Let me talk to the agency about it, to FDA about it. And the end result of that is that, there's a problem, but the initial reaction from FDA may be that we need to recall vast amounts of product. And where this ends up is that you recall just a small amount of product, because you can narrow it based on lock codes and product tracking and your data that you've got in your facility around preventive controls and testing. And also understanding the epidemiology of when people got sick, where they lived, how sick they got, et cetera, et cetera. So it's very difficult to have all that expertise in-house on an ongoing basis. So you absolutely need to be preparing for the worst and get folk who can address those kinds of questions just in your Rolodex and connected, so that they're able to help you when the bad stuff happens.
Fascinating. Dr. Acheson, I was going to allow you a few minutes to explain how Levitt Partners provides strategic counsel and advice regarding these challenges. Is that possible?
Well, absolutely. No, I appreciate that. It is certainly it's a fun topic to discuss. It's a very unfun topic to be on the wrong side of. What we are doing in our firm is working with a variety of food companies, large and small, from farm through to retail food service, as well as some ancillary technologies, to help them get in a better place to prevent these things from happening in the first place, and then to be at their side when they do happen. So really building off my credentials and the credentials of our team to understand where the risk is and do our ultimate working with a company to prevent it happening in the first place, by looking at how a company is controlling its risk. And then, more importantly, are they prepared for the crisis when it hits? And then when it does hit, being, as I said earlier, being with them to be able to navigate this environment, which is always fast and unpleasant and one to be avoided at all costs, but with the best will in the world and the best preventive controls that I've seen in the most up-to-date, sophisticated food facilities. Every now and again, stuff goes wrong. And so that's essentially where we're at. We try to minimize the likelihood of that, and when it does happen, be there with a client to help them through it.
Outstanding. In the last 3 minutes, I was wondering if you could outline for us an exercise that's required by the Food Safety Modernization Act. It's called a mock outbreak and recall exercise. Can you identify some of the salient points that these companies should be practicing in the hopefully unlikely event of a recall?
That's, again, a good question. And this speaks to having a robust crisis management plan. And what this means is that a company has got on paper and has practiced, to your question, has practiced recall plans and a recall situation. Now, you may be doing a recall that's got nothing to do with an outbreak. That can happen. You discover that you have used a contaminated ingredient in a product that was shipped to you, and you've shipped the product out the door. You've got to recall it. Not your fault, but it's your problem. So absolutely have a plan. Who's in charge? there's various ways to build these plans. You can do it through incident command structures, which is what a lot of law enforcement use. It's what the FDA is focused on using. You don't have to, but it works well. So you need to know who you're going to get, where they are 24/7, and a backup. Have a process to be able to identify the right experts, legal, media, communication, subject matter, get them together quickly, and you rehearse this. That's essentially what we're talking about here. And that approach, that crisis management around a food issue, will serve you well whether you are dealing with the recall that I just described, where it was just simply a pass-through, but you've got to get your product off the shelf, or whether it's the worst case that we were talking about earlier, where the FDA knocks on your door and says, we think that you caused an outbreak, and we need to get in there. Either way, you need that same team with that same skill set to be able to manage it.
Well, Dr. Acheson, in the 1 minute remaining, I'd like to offer you the opportunity to close this discussion, particularly with advice to the smaller producers of food in the United States as they look forward to facing the bracing impact of the Food Safety Modernization Act.
I think the most important aspect for small companies at this point is to do their best to understand what they're going to need to do. The regulations are not written yet in their entirety. Some are, but most aren't. So it's really going to be important to stay informed in process, and obviously through venues such as this, you have the capacity to do that. Learn what's going to happen. Start to think today about how you will approach building a food safety plan. Understand what it means to do that, and it's not that complicated. And there's a lot of information out there. And again, from our perspective, we provide
Dr.
that kind of
Acheson,
information.
we have 5 seconds, so I'd like to thank you very much for participating today, and look forward to having our clients participate with you. Thank you very much.
Excellent. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Bye now.
Bye.